in a household which is just 3 women. My dad passed away when I was 3 years old, so it was always my mom.
She's been a very independent minded person. While she was very career oriented herself, as in, she was a teacher, but she had a great career as a teacher. At the same time, she was equally focused, in the lives of her family, her children.
And from when she started, everything in life was planned, like considering what's going to happen like a year ahead.
Taboo at that time, things like leaving your family and going to a foreign land, for instance, for certain situations. But she did that, and she set aside the role model for me that you have to follow your dreams and you have to follow and everything else will fall in place.
The whole planning and the whole sequencing of how she brought about, allowed us to be comfortable yet let us grow, has been an inspiration even now.
Leadership has become a much maligned word, I feel.
First is humility and empathy, the fact that you are approachable.
The first would be purpose, then integrity.
I believe in being very open and frank.
Second is, of course, leading by example. And third is, of course, the subject matter expertise that you bring to the table.
People from very different backgrounds, internationally, very different points of view. I think a sense of having empathy is critical in being able to take people along.
With people, I want to convey to them that I'm accessible, and so whatever it is that they want to talk about, my principles are that I am an enabler in making the organization and my people succeed.
It took a while for them to accept, acknowledge, and acknowledge my presence and acknowledge that the skills and the expertise that I brought to the table.
You can prove your point. You can share your vision. You can inspire them. You can always get them to sort of get on board and accept you.
There's a big ground to cover, honestly.
Seriously long way to go, not just in the tech industry but across.
Both in terms of representation of women in technology all through the ranks, especially as you grow more senior. That's the first problem. And then the question is about equal pay for equal work, equal qualifications.
Everybody gets this equal pay, but somewhere the bias creeps in.
I've seen it personally in the tech space. But having said that, I really like what Adobe, I heard this is what Adobe is doing. When you interview with Adobe, they don't ask for your pay stubs and things like that. They go through the interview process and then it's a pay band. It doesn't matter whether you're a woman or a man, it's a pay band and you fit into that.
I think the single biggest issue that a woman faces coming back from maternity is that of insecurity. And that gets compounded by the fact that there are biases made against her, both at work and home alike sometimes, of certain assumptions made on her behalf. I think that the question needs to be answered by the woman herself. The question needs to be posed to her explicitly. We also need to realize that we should ask openly and not assume ourselves as well.
It was a very glorified moment when I was pregnant. Everybody were like, you need to eat this and take care of yourself and all that stuff. But no one prepared me for what it means to be a mother. Prepare yourself to what happens to you when you become a mother. It's not just about a child coming into this world and you kind of plan the room for the child and everything, but not what about yourself. Like, how do you give yourself time? What about your career when you go back? You don't prepare for that.
For a woman who wants to continue to work, one, she has to overcome that guilty mom syndrome, right? And how do you overcome it? You need a lot of support. You need the support of your workplace that you've been part of, and you need support from your own social ecosystem, your families and friends. At the same time, there has to be a very individual conversation on what's right for this particular person. There are discussions one is part of to say that, okay, this person's race is scale down because she was on maternity leave for some time. Now those conversations, one needs to actively educate people to say that, well, during that period the person is an earning team member.
The society expects that you continue to work, you bring in money, you kind of be recognized for what you're doing, but at the same time change the bed sheets, make sure the fridge is full of food and so on when you leave.
Society becomes a little more preachy when it comes to the women, and people will appreciate women who achieve things, who win acclaim. So it could be the same family where you have an old friend's daughter maybe being featured in the newspaper, and you say, oh look, she's in the newspaper, she's done all this great stuff. But when it comes to your own daughter or daughter-in-law, it might be, well, you just had a child, you need to give the child 4 or 5 years.
Work that defines, it's that joy and the passion I come to work that defines a lot of who I am. So it's a balance between those two. For me, it is a balance of that. Family is important, but work is also important. But from a society perspective, I would think it is more family.
They end up being imbalanced over a period of time.
It's not easy. I think all of us are going insane.
There are the time periods when work takes over precedence, and there are times in your life when family takes precedence.
I have a very good, strong support system. Definitely need help at home. My husband pitches out a lot. A great support system at work, a great manager culture in the office which allows you to take these decisions.
It's very hard to call what's balance. And to my earlier point, compromises have to be made. You have to define what is important to you.
A lot of times, the fundamental thing lacking is intent.
I think corporates still lack the ability to really imbibe the notion of flexibility.
It kind of becomes a number thing.
Once you achieve, you should be achieving those numbers, but achieving those with the insistence that you're not compromising on quality.
I think corporates really need to ask themselves, why are they doing this? Is it just to kind of check some boxes off the list? That we have a certain percentage of women employees.
I need this 50%. Earlier it used to be 33%. Now it is 50%. So while it is good to have this 50%, it's the how part that is very troubling.
The ability to think about contribution, impact, rather than face time.
And then when you go beyond that, it is how inclusive are you making your workforce.
When I was getting promoted in my earlier years in HP, there was this 33% thing. And then I got branded as diversity candidate for a while, and I hated it because I didn't become someone else because I was a diversity candidate. I earned it.
And when you are driving gender diversity programs, who is taking the lead on those? Who is part of that conversation? And if men are not part of that conversation, then we are really doing a great disservice, and we are not moving that conversation as fast as it could progress.
The second is sensitization. Like when you get a diverse candidate, it's also about how much have you sensitized your organization, the peer group, and that whole group that you would be working in. I don't care about a sari or a suit.
In my choice of my attire is how do I connect with people?
Agnostic to that.
You walk in with confidence, you own the seat that you sit in, and you speak for what you represent there. It doesn't matter if it's a sari or a suit.
When I wear something, does it allow me to connect with my stakeholders in a way that I can achieve the objective?
With having 2 kids, your clothes are clean and ironed, and you're good to go. You don't have any crayons or paint or stickers somewhere around. You're good.
Go beyond your work and network.
Keep learning. Keep learning throughout your life.
Follow your dreams. Don't let anything stop you. You can always figure a way out.
Never let yourself get complacent.
Find time, make time to network beyond that realm that you're working in.
And if you feel it's too hard, take it one step at a time.
Take calculated risks. There will be times in your life when you need to be a little risk averse, but there are times when you need to push yourself and take a few calculated risks, knowing that there is an upside and there is a downside. There just aren't enough role models. There are, but just aren't enough for different stages of life.
A lot of the drop-offs happen at a time when they feel they need to focus on their career, on their family.
Make sure that that they are motivated enough.
So often I reach out to people in my team and form those connects, but I think there is much more that can be done.
Encouraging those more one-on-one discussions with women. I'm not sure if that is happening, and if there can be concerted efforts around doing that, because identify those who are in that fragile phase where you see the fallout happening.
But they do not get sidelined, that there is enough support for them to continue working even at the most challenging times of their life.